process that you use to declutter? And the big question, your husband and your kids on board with this? I can see your kids going, no, Mommy, I like that toy. Give it back to me, Mommy. Mommy, don't throw that away.
For sure. We've had that conversation 6,000 times. And you can't really go in and declutter your kids' rooms without their permission, or that will be really rough on them. And every marriage tends to have one saver of things and one tosser of things, and so there will be tension there as well. I have tried to throw out my husband's high school prom fancy shoes. We've been married 16 years now, at least 16 times, and they keep making their way out of the Goodwill pile. So you start with yourself. You start with your own closet, your own possessions, your own schedule. And what happened was, as I started to have less, do less, experience the freedom that God offers when we're not overburdened, my husband was like, I think I'm interested. Tell me about that. I think I'm interested in some of that. And
let it go, man. Get rid of the shoes.
And the same was true with our children. And part of it for children is instilling generosity in them. We had a conversation about, look how many toys you have. There are other kids who could use toys, would need toys. We have friends who are going to adopt a foster child, and they have girls. They're adopting a boy. We have boys.
What?
We have boy toys. They said, could you spare some? And of course, they first go to the broken things, the things they don't like. We say, what toys would you want to play with? And so to begin that conversation with them, where it's not we're clearing it all out, which as a mom, when I get overwhelmed, that's the temptation. Instead to say, could you maybe pick 5 things today that we could gift to this family?
Courtney, I know from the book, this wasn't easy for you. It sounds like you almost mathematically figured this out. A plus B equals C. But speak to the mom, the wife, the husband, who is not seeing this as an easy task. It looks overwhelming. So speak to your struggles with that as you went through it.
It isn't an easy task, because it's not just about possessions. Every possession has memories that are attached to it, feelings that are attached to it, nostalgia that's attached to it. One of the hardest moments was we had moved from Wisconsin to California into this tiny condo, and we brought this table that my parents had gifted to us. This was my childhood table. It had a little bit of paint. Yes, it expanded. It literally could seat 18 people, and we were in a tiny condo. So it was in our dining room, and it was in our living room. And people kept asking, are you going to host a banquet? And I said, no, I just can't part with it. I feel so guilty. My mom gave this to me. I moved it from Wisconsin to California. And finally, I realized, okay, I have to let this table go. It's ridiculous. Like, we can't walk in our own home because of this table. And I called my mom and I said, I'm so sorry. I know this table meant so much to our family. I think I have to let it go. And she said, of course you need to I was wondering when you were going to, it doesn't fit the space. I put it online for sale. And within 10 minutes, a pastor's wife contacted me and said, this is exactly what we need for our parish hall, so we can have our dinners with our deacons. Thank you so much. I'll pick it up today. And it was like the Lord Almighty said to me, see?
I got you.
Right? It's not even that it's about me letting go of things. It's about who else might be blessed by these things I've been clinging to that don't serve me.
You know, so often as human beings, we chase the shiny thing. It could be a project here focus. That's one of the disciplines you have to constantly put in organization. You know, we don't want to chase the shiny thing. What has God called us to do?
Yeah, it can be hard to get a hold of it, especially a lot of folks who have trouble over purchasing are bargain hunters. And so there's the justification of, but it was only $4, but I got it on clearance. And it's like, it's okay, but your closet is still filled to bursting, or your shelves are still filled to bursting. It's not about value ultimately. It's about what will this possession take from you in the time ahead when you have to care for it, you have to store it, you have to deal with it. And people medicate by shopping, but they also medicate by being busy. And those are two sides of the same.
Wait a minute. Well, no. Yeah, being busy is a good thing. Yeah. That's my problem. Okay, thanks for taking my legs out from under me. But in that way, you and Daryl, I mean, you set out on this adventure. I'll call it that. It's, a mountain you needed to climb. Did the two of you find healthier alternatives? Was there ever kind of a strong disagreement between you about these things? How did that work out in your own marriage?
Yeah, for sure. It's a journey we undertook together, but also it's a journey we are still taking independently, and we have different thresholds for acceptable amount of possessions, and that's just part of being in a marriage is God will speak to me, God will speak to him, we will walk this journey together. But when we have a disagreement, it's okay, ultimately who's going to wear these shoes? They get to make that final decision, and that's been a good way for us to
I have a terrible confession. So I am a thrower.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's an arm's length, it's gone. And so I got a big big trash bin to come in, and they set it down for a week in your driveway, and so I start cleaning out the garage. I remember, I think there was a sticky with a phone number and a name on it that was stuck on our ATV, and I'm thinking, okay, this has been here for like a year. I don't think anybody needs this sticky. So boop, in the trash it went, in this gigantic disposal thing. And later that afternoon, Jane's going, I had a number on that ATV, and I don't know. Somehow she knew I threw the sticky away, and she goes and gets it. I'm like, okay, maybe that was too much. So you got to be a little respectful of things that may be important to your spouse, like a phone number.
Absolutely, it's risky to declutter on behalf of someone else. You can do it together, or you can do it for you, but you need to partner if you're going to do it together. Whether it's a child or a spouse or an aging parent, you're helping clean out their house. You may not know what is most important to them. And so those conversations take a lot of time and a lot of energy. But I will say on the other side of them, you are much more hesitant to bring new stuff into the house because you're like, I've seen how hard it is to pare down, and I want to live in a new way on the other side.
Well, this is Focus on the Family with Jim Daly, and our guest today is Courtney Ellis. We're talking about freeing up your life to have more space for the things that matter. Her book is terrific about this topic. It's called Uncluttered: Free Your Space, Free Your Schedule, Free Your Soul. And we'll invite you to call us for a copy, 800, the letter A in the word family, or stop by focusonthefamily.com/broadcast.
Courtney, I want to shift to an area that I don't think we think about when it comes to being uncluttered: technology. And as I was reading the book, your emphasis on managing digital assets, I'll use all those big terms, it's really important. And one of the most heartbreaking elements that you had in the book was that the observation that children that were born, around 2010, about the time the smartphone came out, they're competing for their parents' attention because the parents are looking at their digital things. And that picture really broke my heart. Speak to that, and how do children compete with the phone to get their parents' attention?
Yeah, digital technology is a wonderful thing when it's used within bounds. And there was a picture in a magazine of a woman's hand holding a phone and a baby laying below it, and the woman looking at the phone, and I was like, oh, that's me. Like, my kid is seeing the back of my hand and the back of my phone and my distracted face as I'm changing a diaper, because there are portions of parenthood that are pretty boring, and I was looking for diversion. I was reading articles, I was listening to podcasts. But when we can keep digital technology within its proper bounds, it's a tool that we use rather than a tool that uses us.
Let's talk about that. What were some things that you did that you were able to corral that digital beast?
I did a bunch of things that failed. First of all, I tried to just be better, and I tried to, and I'd have a good day where I barely looked at my phone, and I felt great, and the next day I looked at my phone 6,000 times before lunch. Exactly. And what I realized is there are thousands and thousands of engineers behind this screen that get paid if I click, if I scroll. Like, it's not a fair fight. And so we've developed tools as a family that take that fight out of our hands. So we have this wonderful lockbox that we put our phones in during dinner and bedtime, and we just can't access them. And every once in a while something happens, and I'm like, I wish I could take a picture of that. And also, it's okay. So to have tools to use the settings on your phone to limit screen time for yourself, for your kids, to take some of that fight out of your own hands, so that you can rest in that peace and in that space. We take a digital Sabbath. We have at least 1 week a year where we're off our phones. 1 month a year we sign off of social media, because we don't do things halfway very well.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's really good. Jean was terrific at dinner. We always had dinner. And then no phones at the table. She was really good and very insistent upon that. And it fell into a quick place where nobody questioned it. The boys were fine, and it wasn't, they didn't even bring their phones to the table. And they held that all the way through. So I think that kind of leadership in the home is really good as well. This is the way we're going to do it. And nobody really pushed back on it, which was good. In that regard, today's tech, you say, has eliminated that space for downtime. You think about that. Boy, what a different world we live in compared to 100 years ago. Just 100 years ago, when there was quiet time. I mean, people were probably working hard and doing everything by hand, and we got all those wonderful conveniences, washer machine, for example. But there was quiet time too, and even in doing those routines, they weren't distracted by things. How do you think technology has really soaked up those in-between spaces where we don't have downtime?
Yeah, it really has. It fills all the cracks and crevices of our day. And one of the healthiest things for the human brain is boredom and silence. That's where a lot of creativity happens. You ever notice you have some of your best ideas in the shower because your phone's not in there with you? But now we have waterproof phone. You can bring your phone in the shower. But we need those spaces. Yes, children need those spaces. Adults need those spaces. But the easiest thing to do is always to look at a screen. So we have to make it less easy for ourselves so that we have those holy spaces where we can hear from God, where we can look into the eyes of our children, where we can remember that we're not just producers and consumers, we're human beings.
Yeah, and it's so good. I mean, again, I don't think most people would think of technology as a uncluttering effort, but your book is packed with these great insights and ideas. We often complain moving to the schedule now. I'm going to bare my soul in a very busy moment in my life right now. I'm leaving this afternoon for Montana so to meet with folks, but we often complain about having overloaded schedules. And I think many of us, if I could say it, we wear it as a badge of honor. Yes, I'm busy. I flew here yesterday and I'm going there and blah, 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 blah.
It's a humble brag.
A humble brag, yeah. Aren't I important? But we kind of fail to acknowledge most of that's our own fault. I mean, my assistant, Teresa, is so good. She's like, well, you said yes to this. Well, why didn't you say no? You're the boss. I mean, she's so good at pushing back, but gently reminding me that I created this mess, not her. But how do we, one, I guess, get a hold of that, and then how do we control that out of control schedule so we have time for family and weekend, and how do we do it?
It's a tricky thing for sure. The best practice that we've found, my husband and I serve a church, we have young children, there are always more good things to do, and there are always more crises on the horizon. And that's why God gives us the gift of Sabbath every week, once a week, to rest from our labors and remember that the work ultimately is the Lord's. And it's not a reward for good behavior. It's not great you finished all the things so you can rest and worship. It's even with things left undone, which they always will be. The work is the Lord's. Rest, worship, pray, play.
Yeah, there's a story you had in the book that I want to pull out. You wrote it, so I'm not embarrassing you.
Bring it on.
How could you ask that? But there was something about a class pet, and you were pregnant. So connect all the dots for us. How was this an aha that I should not say yes to this?
Yeah, so our kids attend our wonderful church preschool, and the teachers are amazing. They each have a class pet. It's a bird. It's a little parakeet. And all the children get to take it home for a weekend or for spring break, something like that. And I'm in the line. I'm like 100 months pregnant, it feels
I've got
like
to ask
at this
you,
point.
are you saying there's one parakeet in the class or like 20?
Every class has a parakeet.
Every class has one
yes,
parakeet.
one.
Okay, good. So anyway, you're pregnant. Set that up again. Sorry.
So I'm 8.5 months pregnant. My due date is in just a couple weeks, and my oldest son is 3 years old. He's in the class, and the teacher meets me at the door with the parakeet clipboard. And I haven't signed up yet because I've been a little busy. And she says, Lincoln hasn't signed up. Will you please sign him up for the parakeet? And I look, and there's only one slot left available, and it is the spring break, which is in 2 weeks, which is my due date for our second baby. And in that moment, my unborn son kicks me in the ribs, and I drop the clipboard, and I say, I'll get back to you tomorrow. And I go home and share the story with Daryl, and Daryl goes, absolutely not. And I said, well, we have to. Everyone takes home the parakeet. And he goes, Courtney, you can tell her no. The parakeet will not survive.
Are you looking at my face right now? I'm like, duh, way to go, Daryl.
You're not going to remember to feed the parakeet when you're in labor. Like,
did
this
the teacher look at your tummy?
This is a
My gosh, that's like self-evident. I'm having a baby next week.
I'm a person who looks 9 months pregnant for 4 months, so she had no way of knowing how close I was to my due date. But it was this revelation that you don't have to say yes to every invitation, even a good invitation, even an invitation that everybody else has said yes to.
Yes.
That sometimes God is calling you to something greater, and that is the secret. Besides Sabbath, the other secret for uncluttering your schedule is remembering your deeper purpose. And in this season, my mission, my deeper purpose was to get this baby safely from one side to the other into the world.
the big question, though, someone's thinking it, so I'll ask it on behalf of them. How'd you explain that to your little boy?
Yeah.
What'd you say to him?
You know, he was okay with it, and we switched with another parent. And we were able to bring the parakeet home when the new baby was a couple months old, and we enjoyed the parakeet rather than forgetting to feed the parakeet.
Right. So it didn't turn into some disaster emotionally for your son.
He was okay with it. He's not a big pets kid, but we could have just said a full no.
Yeah.
We took the parakeet later because we had space, we had room, we were looking forward to it, but you could just say a full no.
Yeah, you took the parakeet for the summer. That was nice of you.
You know what? We took the parakeet. This is funny. We took the parakeet 2 days before the pandemic began. So we had the parakeet. That joke about the person who brought the class hamster home for the weekend, we had that parakeet for 7 months.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's funny. That is a little retribution for the parakeet.
It was. Yeah.
Say no to me, huh?
And it lived the whole time.
Yeah.
We brought it back
That's
healthy.
incredible. For those that don't know, and this is on the serious side, a scriptural point to make, that Jesus modeled boundaries and pulling back. So often we think busyness is next to godliness. Some people, I think 80% of people in America think that's in the scripture somewhere. It's not. But describe that blurriness that somehow we equate busyness with godliness, and then take the example. What was the example that Jesus gave us saying no?
Yeah, busyness helps us feel important. I have things to do. There are many people who need me, so I'm very, very important. And the truth is that busyness often separates us from our neighbor. It separates us from God. It can separate us from our own spiritual need, our own spiritual hunger. And it's a sign that we are not clear in the mission that God has called us to. And this is what we see Jesus doing over and over. It's fascinating. If you flip through the Gospels, Jesus says a variation of, I am going to Jerusalem, dozens of times. He knows what his mission is. He's going to Jerusalem. He's going to die on the cross for the sins of all humanity. And if he had been diverted from that mission, it'd be very bad for all of us. So when he says no to the crowds, it's to go spend time in prayer with his Father to prepare him for this mission, because he has to go to Jerusalem. When our mission is clear, it becomes much easier to say no to things. What is God calling you to do? What is God calling you to be? How is God calling you to care for your family, to live into your vocation? When these things are clear, it becomes much easier to say no to the things that are not part of them.
Well, I think it's an interesting observation when he says, the Lord says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. For a lot of Christians, they don't feel that.
Yeah.
It still feels heavy. I'm so busy. But this is exactly the area of your life that you need to take a look at then. If you're not able to get that margin to spend time in prayer, to understand what your mission is with your own mission and then your family mission with your spouse, etc. In fact, you and Daryl, I think it was in premarital counseling, you were challenged to think about your marriage mission. We didn't cover that in our premarital counseling. I think it would have been a good addition to what Gene and I did. I mean, we thought about what we wanted to do to serve the Lord and, be faithful followers of Christ. But how did that stretch you, and what was that mission that you created?
Yeah, we had these wonderful premarital counselors, husband and wife, and we were kind of insulted by their question. How will you serve God better together? And we're like, we love each other and we love God, and just do the wedding, okay? And
say the question's really good,
Yeah.
because it was, how could you serve the Lord better together than separately?
Yes.
That is a profoundly good question.
And they said, if you do not have an answer to this, we will not marry you. And
Wow.
we were like, wow, we've been volunteering in the youth group for years, and we love Jesus and we love each other.
Which is to their point.
Right. But they really pushed us on it. And they said, if you're not going to serve God better together than separately, then God may not be calling you to marriage at this
So
time.
you ran away for a couple of days and
We
said,
did. I was in
had a date
tears
night.
in the car.
What'd you come back with?
Daryl was taking me back to my apartment, and I'm like, woo.
We're not getting there.
Right? I can't believe they asked us this question, and they asked it because they love us and
Yeah.
because they love the
What
Lord.
made you think about it and,
Yes.
and come up with a family mission, right?
Yeah.
Statement.
Yes.
And what was it, basically?
Yeah, it was that God is calling us to provide opportunities for hospitality and respite and discipleship. And God has used that every step of our marriage. We now serve a church together, and we see that on multiple fronts. Rest for the weary and a meal for the hungry.